All right. Let's start off by saying Barakateh Hawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakudash. Welcome to another live lesson. All right. The name of this one is S.ism, T.ism, and Niggerism is a disease. All right. And the inspiration for this lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai comes from a video I was watching earlier from the chaps out there in England, the head of the camp, Ramah, and a couple of other brothers. I'm not sure who they were. They just had the screen, and they were filming live, and they had this one clip of this so-called black woman, and pretty much she was cursing this one Jake out, which was her husband, and pretty much saying she wanted to go back with the white man and the white woman pretty much back into slavery, and the brothers were getting down, and just brought to mind, how much of a lower state that Jake is in, and that those words that Esau put upon our people, which are bywords and proverbs according to the scriptures that will come upon us, Jake has perfected that. But pretty much that S.ism, T.ism, and Niggerism is pretty much a disease. It's a disease that's spreading even among Israelites that are woke, supposed to be awoke. They still have that mentality. They still have that old way about them that they never put off, and shit is just grimy. And this is why Esau pretty much puts that, upon all of Jake. They actually put those labels upon all Jake, all the tribes, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians. They view us all in the same light because they figure the actions of one represent the actions of all. And that's not true. That's a lesson right there. The action of one doesn't show the actions of all or something along those lines. But that's how Esau feels about it. In this lesson, I just want to hit a couple of precepts that came to mind concerning this topic. Because, when we're dealing with this truth, we pretty much go into all the aspects of the truth, the bitter, the sweet, the nastiness of the scriptures, the good things concerning us, and I mean just everything in general. And this is one of the main reasons why Great Millstone is so hated, because we go into every aspect of the scriptures, no matter how controversial it may be. And a lot of people do not like to hear that because they've been poisoned by this Western hemisphere. They've been poisoned by the philosophy of this Western hemisphere, which is nothing more than that Babylonian juice, that cup of America. Elder Yashwamba did a lesson on dealing with the strange woman. With the strange woman pretty much is that Babylonian juice that's, in the hand of America, the so-called white man, the Edomites, that they've pushed upon the whole planet, and it's infected the whole world. And pretty much, 2/3 of Jake, and even Jakes that are woke, that know that they're Israelites, it has infected them. So what I want to do is I want to go through a few precepts, like I said, and hit some points in the scriptures that bring out S.ism and T.ism and Niggerism out of the scriptures. So the first scripture I want to go, because there's really, we know why this is happening. The Lord said that he made us subject unto vanity so that he can subject us unto hope also, because the Lord has a purpose, and we had to fall from that estate that we were in order to be able to go through the humility to get to the honor. You can't get to the honor without the humility. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work backwards. And when the Lord gave us the honor, what happened? We forsook the Lord and pretty much cast him to the side. And look where we find ourselves in, back in the place of humility. So humility comes first, then honor comes later. And the Lord gave us everything that we needed in order for us to be well equipped and nurtured to where we shouldn't have gone off. But like I said, we understand why we went off, because there's a greater purpose to what we see going on today. So real quick, let's go to 2 Timothy 3:16. It says, all scripture is given by inspiration of the Most High and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness. So it is for us to be instructed. And we were given these laws that made us what? Holy. That's why we're known as a holy nation, which was separated from the rest of the world, from the rest of the nations. It says that the man of the Most High may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. So this truth that we have, that a lot of individuals out there take for granted, this is what thoroughly furnishes us with all good works, so that we can know what the perfect will of the Most High is and how to please our power. Just like when a older woman instructs a younger woman on how to please a man and how to guide the house and how to be and how to conduct herself, because they've actually been through those things. Well, this is what the Bible is to us. It's an instruction book on how to please our power, our husband, which is Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai. All right. So let's go to Isaiah 5:1. It says, now will I sing to my well-beloved a song of my beloved, touching his vineyard. Now, who is this vineyard that we're going to read about? This is the Most High speaking parabolically about the nation of Israel. So when we jump to the 7th verse, for the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant, and he looked for judgment. Well, let's not jump the gun. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. So now will I sing to my well-beloved, the Most High, a song of my beloved, touching his vineyard, touching the nation of Israel. Really the men. Because remember, we are the glory of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, just like the woman is our glory. All right. My well-beloved hath a vineyard in a very fruitful hill. Remember, going back to Deuteronomy 32, which we're going to go to, Lord's will, the Lord gave all the nations their inheritances. And he gave it to them before he gave us ours. Remember, we got ours last. We were the last ones to get ours because we got the best. We got the best of everything. We got the best, most fertile, most pleasant, most awe-inspired, most venerated and loved in the eyes of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay? It says, and he fenced it and gathered out the stones thereof. It's just like a husbandman, right, has a field. The field is lumpy, it's clumpy, it has stones in it. It hasn't been worked. So he has to go in there with his expertise, and he has to set everything right. Put fences around it to keep the enemy out, keep animals, wild beasts out. Cultivate the land, break everything up, get everything ready for sowing. Make sure he has a home on there. Make sure he has a barn, a place for his animals to feed and to be around and to graze and all of that. So this is what the Lord did with us. He gave us the scriptures. He gave us men to guide us, shepherds to guide us, to be able to cultivate us to please him, right? And planted it with the choicest vine. So the choicest vines, we were planted as a choicest vine. We were a noble vine unto the Lord, as we're going to read later on. It says, and built a tower in the midst of it. And what is the tower? The tower represents the prophets. So not only did the Lord give the book but he also gave men with the book to give the understanding of the book. Because remember, wisdom is a principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all I getting, get understanding. So if we have the book, but we don't have the understanding of it, then it's useless to us. Just like it's useless to Esau, it's useless to the other nations, and it's useless to 2/3 of Israel because they can't get the understanding. So they can't get the benefit or the riches out of it. Right? It says, and also made a winepress therein. So what is the winepress? The winepress represents this truth. This truth is compared to wine. It's compared to oil. It's compared to water. It's compared to milk. It's compared to meat. So the winepress is the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord that is set for the drinking of the nation of Israel. It says, and he looked that it should bring forth grapes, and it brought forth wild grapes. This is another scripture you could use to break down the book of Romans 11 chapter. So now let's look up this wild grapes here. Let's see where we at. And we're just going to go on the spirit. Like I said, I had a couple of precepts, wrote them down, kind of went over them, listened to them earlier, kind of read through some of them, looked up a couple of words, and to see where the spirit leads us. So this is wild grapes. Ba'ashyam. Ba'ashyam. Right? It says stinking or worthless things. Wild grapes, stink berries. So pretty much if you have, poison berries. Because, you have, just like you have certain plants out there that are poisonous, you have other plants that are good for you and other plants that are poisonous. You have certain mushrooms that are good for you, certain mushrooms that are poisonous. You have berries that are good for you and berries that are poisonous. So these berries are poisoned. So that represents the nation of Israel becoming poisoned after the Most High set Israel up as the noble and choicest vine among all nations. And it became poisoned berries. We all became poisoned berries. Till the Lord cleaned us up, man. Wow. It says, so the Lord said, and he looked that it should bring forth grapes, good grapes, sweet grapes, grapes with seeds in them, grapes that are beneficial and tasty and good. And it brought forth wild grapes. And you see, these wild grapes, when you look at Jake today, in the state that they're in. That's why the name of the lesson is, S.ism. I put S.ism, comma, T.ism, supposed to be a comma there, and N.ism, comma, is a disease. S.ism, Tontoism, and niggerism is a disease. It's an actual disease. And this was this is the payoff, so to speak, of what it is to go off from the Lord and the condition that we find ourselves in today. Because it's bad enough that we're in a low condition, but there's some Israelites out there that are just straight up grimy as fuck. And when I was watching the brothers from England, when I was watching their video, the live earlier today, I was just like, man, that just kept ringing in my head. And the spirit kept having the brother play the clip of the so-called black woman, the Judite woman, cursing a man out, talking about, why'd you bring me out here? I want to go back with them. Why ends can't stay in their place. And this is the conception that's out there. This is what's out there. The so-called black woman, the so-called Latino woman, the so-called Native American Indian woman. They're some of the root causes for Jake to be in the condition that they're in. And Esau did that masterfully by getting the man out of the house so that the woman could raise the man child up. And the woman can't raise the man child up because she's going to raise that man child up on what she was taught and on emotions. That's why a lot of these so-called Negroes, Latino, and Native American Indian men are effeminate, homosexuals, super emotional, You know? And we've all been there because we were all tainted and poisoned by this Western philosophy. You know, by this we was all in that wild grape syndrome. Salakia. Ooh, and it brought forth the wild grapes. Man. So, man, it says, and now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judah, judge, I pray you, betwixt me and my vineyard. So the Lord is righteous in all his ways, you know? So he's saying, look, judge between me and my vineyard, right? What could have been done more to my vineyard that I have not done in it? The Most High was the perfect husbandman. He did everything. He got up early in the morning, cultivated the land, fenced everything off, make sure the house was there, make sure the food was on the table, make sure that the teachings were there, make sure that the children knew what to do, knew how to operate, knew how to conduct themselves, know how his wife knew how what she had to do. Everything. There was no stone left unturned. It says, wherefore, when I looked that it should bring forth grapes, brought it forth wild grapes. Again. And these wild grapes is these jakes out here that's in this bugged out state. This diseased state that Jake is in. It says, and now go to, I will tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will take away the hedge thereof. So the Most High took the angels away from hedging Israel, because the Most High had a spiritual block on Israel from any nations being able to come in, any beast, any nation being able to come in and bring us down to a low level. But the Lord pulled that hedge away, and it shall be eaten up and break down the wall thereof, and it shall, be trodden down. And look at the condition that we're in today. So much so that our women back then, they were so dainty that they wouldn't even put their foot on the ground. They had to be carried everywhere they went. The men were lauded. When we read Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, the Lord said, keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, for this is your wisdom in the sight of the nations. Look at the low condition that we're in, and look at the awe that Jake brings out, beginning with Judah. Look at the awe that they make people to look at Jake as, yet still in this low condition. So just imagine the awe that was back then when we was close to the Most High. The manner in which the nations were in awe of us. The way that these nations talk greatly about us. That's all gone right now. You see? And what's left? S.ism, T.ism, and niggerism. That's all a disease. We went from a healthy body to a degenerate body, to a disease-filled body. It says, and I will lay it waste, and it shall not be pruned nor digged, but there shall come up briars and thorns. I will also command the clouds that they rain no rain upon it. So this knowledge was not raining upon us anymore. It was whenever a weed would come up, the weed would be plucked out. The growth of the root into the plant, into the fruits, was uninhibited. Plenty of rain, plenty of sunshine, plenty of moonlight. But then after a while, the Lord stopped plucking the weeds out of the garden. The Lord stopped letting the rain come upon it. The Lord allowed the sun to burn so hot so that it would destroy the crop. The Lord wouldn't let the moon shine as good on these crops so that they can grow properly. And this is all allegorical to the condition that we went from. We went from riches to rags. So now let's look up this word briars, which is the word shamayar. shamayar. Thorns, adamant, flint, thorns, thorn bushes, adamant as sharp. So a thorn, when you have a rose bush, roses are beautiful, but they have thorns in them. And if you're not careful, you could cut yourself on it, and that hurts. You prick yourself, you start cursing. But the rose bush itself is beautiful. So Jake became from that beautiful state to thorns, thistles, to weeds, briars, all the worst part of the plants, from the best plants to the worst plants. So now let's look up the word thorns. I believe we looked up briars, right? Yep. Now let's look up thorns. Shayath, thorn, bushes, scrub or trash. So pretty much the same thing. All right. So the worst part of the plant, For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah his pleasant plant. And he looked for judgment, but behold oppression, for righteousness, but behold a cry. So there was no excuse. But the bottom line is, we understand now why it went down. So this is Deuteronomy 32:1. I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit. You brothers can read this whole chapter. This whole chapter should be a mandatory chapter to read, to go into the history of Jake and how we came to a greater state and pretty much pissed the Most High off, and how Jake is into every philosophy known to man, every idol that is known to man. They are into worshiping it. Deuteronomy 32:1. Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop down as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as a small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass. Because I will publish the name of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem El Shai, ascribe ye greatness unto our power. He is a rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment, a power of truth, and without iniquity just is he. They have corrupted themselves, their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. And this is what happened. That corruption. And how did the corruption come about? By observing and doing what these nations did. When we read Leviticus, the 20th chapter, the scriptures tell us there, the Lord said, look, when you go into these lands that I'm going to give you, what you see these nations do, don't be doing that. Because this is the reason why I'm kicking them out. Because they committed all these things. So don't turn around after I give you this land and start doing what they did. Because the same way I kicked their ass out, I'm going to kick your ass out. Bottom line. So now let's go to perverse. I quash. Twisted. Distorted. Crooked. Perverse. Perverted. Now, we have a scripture in the New Testament, which Lord's will we get back to it, in Philippians 2:15, that you may be blameless and harmless, the sons of the Most High, without rebuke, in the midst, of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world. And when we look up this word crooked, when I read the Greek word, it brought to mind the Greek word is scolios, where you got that disease where you have a crooked spine. They call it scolios, or I forget exactly how. There's scolios. It's a derivative of this. And when somebody has that, that means they have a crooked spine. So scolios, it says crooked, curved, metaphorically perverse, wicked, unfair, surly, forward. So the Lord created us righteous, but we ended up going in a crooked path. Because the scriptures say that the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the ways of the wicked seduceth them. All right, so let's go back. So that was for the word crooked. Now let's look up the word perverse. Diastrepho. Dia, through or by, and strepho is to turn. to turn by. So to turn from the right path, to distort, turn aside. Didn't we just read in Isaiah the 5th chapter that the Lord created Israel? He dressed the vineyard. He did everything that he could do. How did it bring forth wild grapes after all the work I put into it? It says to oppose, plot against the saving purposes and plans of the Most High, to turn aside from the right path, to pervert, corrupt, and that's what happened. So now I'm going to leave that because Lord's will, we'll get back to this if we get a chance. So this is that was the word for perverse, aikwash. They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Do ye thus requite the Lord, O foolish people and unwise? Is not he thy father that hath brought thee? Hath he not made thee and established thee? So the Lord established us, but what happened? We turned our back on him. Let's jump to the 15th verse. But Jeshurun, which is another name for Israel, waxed fat and kicked. So in other words, Jake waxed fat and just kicked back and forsook the Lord. Thou art waxen fat, thou art grown thick. Thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook the Most High, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. So now let's go from there. And you brothers, like I say, you read the whole chapter. The whole chapter is good. Let's go to Jeremiah 2:1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Go and cry in the ears of Jerusalem, saying, Thus saith the Lord, I remember thee, the kindness of thy youth. Now we're going back to when the Lord was first establishing us. And you notice whenever you read through the scriptures, there's a lot of repetition in the scriptures. And there's a reason for that. Because Jake is hard-headed. So you have to keep saying things over and 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 over again for Jake to get the point. To get the severity of it. To get how serious this is. I remember the kindness of thy youth, the love of thine espousal. You see? When a man is that got engaged and about to marry his wife, that anxiety, that feeling, that you get when everything is new, when everything, I guess for lack of better words, the anxiety, So the Lord is going back to that, to remind us of this. When thou wentest after me in the wilderness, in the land that was not sown. It's like you were coming after me, and that was a beautiful thing. And this is why, when brothers deal with women and brothers do the so-called right thing by this woman, and this woman turn around and stab you in the back, she cheats on you, she do all kind of shit to bring all type of heartache upon us. That's the Lord's doing because of what we did to him. So we can know what he felt like when we did what we did to him. You see? So this is why he's going back to this and saying, look, I remember when you desired me. It says Israel was holiness unto the Lord. Yep. Because the Lord said we was a holy nation. And the first fruits of his increase. Because the first fruits are the best part of the fruits. That's why the Lord required the first fruits to be offered unto him. Because that's the most precious part of your stash. It says, all that devour him shall offend. Evil shall come upon them, saith the Lord Yahweh Shem El Shai. And that's why he kicked Pharaoh and the Egyptian army in the ass. That's why he brought those different plagues upon the Egyptians. Because of Israel. Because of us. The apple of his eye. It says, hear ye the word of the Lord, O house of Jacob, and all the families of the house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, what iniquity have your fathers found in me, that they are gone far from me, and have walked after vanity, and are become vain. So I did all this for you. I brought you out of the land of Egypt, all these different signs that I brought for you. Finally, I cracked the Red Sea open. The Most High is speaking now. He cracked the Red Sea open for us and led us through the wilderness. So what did Jake find what did we find wrong with what the Lord did? That we treated him the way that we treat him. You see? But like I said, we understand now the full picture of why. Neither said they, where is the Lord that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, that led us through the wilderness, through a land of deserts and pits, through a land of drought and of the shadow of death. You got to remember, man, there were wild beasts out there. There was all kind of nations and everything out there. You had raiders out there. You had cutthroats. You know, you had robbers and thieves, you know, murderers of these different nations. And the Lord kept all that away from us. It says, through a land that no man passed through and where no man dwelt. And I brought you into a plentiful country to eat the fruit thereof and the goodness thereof. But when you entered, you defiled my land and made my heritage an abomination. And this is what we were reading in the book of Deuteronomy 32. It says, the priest said not, where is the Lord? And they that handle the law knew me not. The pastors also transgressed against me, and the prophets prophesied by Baal and walked after things that do not profit. And this is what brought Jake down to the degenerative state that they're in now. This griminess. You know, to where at one time the nations looked at us in awe. Now they look at us in disgust. Now let's jump down to the 20th verse. Matter of fact, just go straight to the point. 21. Yet I had planted thee a noble vine, wholly a right seed. How art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? So Jake has become that degenerate plant of a strange vine. And now let's look up this word degenerate. The word sawar. Degenerate, deteriorated. From royalty to a deteriorated state. From royalty, from the proper etiquette and the proper speech and the love and the devotion to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai and amongst each other, to this grimy state that we're in. You see them grimy ass clowns on the corners among Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, all the tribes, among Gad in the reservations. That's a deteriorated state, a degenerated state. That's spickism, tontoism, niggerism. That's what we've been reduced to. Let's go back. So the Lord did everything. There was nothing else that the Lord could do in order to make us any better. But there was still a plan. See, we understand that. But that state that Jake is in is pretty much a disease. So let's see. So you brother, what says, for though thou wash thee with nitre and take thee much soap, yet thine iniquity is marked before thee, saith the Lord power. And that's why Jake is in that state. And you know what? The word has been out there. Jake heard the word. What they do to the word? Man, get out of here with that bullshit. I ain't trying to hear that. So they have no excuse. That's why the Lord said that if I had not come, they would have not had no cloak for their sins. So now they don't have an excuse because the word is out there. But that mentality that they have, the Lord hardened their heart because they're not to get this. And you can read the rest. There's a lot more. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna read it. The ox knoweth its owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. And although the prophets are out there warning them, they still don't consider. They still are not looking at the bigger picture. The book is there. They can't grasp it because the Lord blocked them from it. Whew. It says, our sinful nation, the people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward. So they went from a holy state to an unholy state, to a perverted state, to a degenerative state. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And without this knowledge, there won't be a way to put those garments of praise upon Jake to be able to please the Most High. There's a certain order, a certain way that the Most High wants to be praised. Everything that the Most High does is very meticulous. When you read through the law, you find that out. The Most High is very meticulous, Alakia. That's a combination between particular and meticulous. He's very meticulous and very particular in the way that he does things. It says, why should you be stricken anymore? You will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. And that's why you see Jake in the condition that they're in that low, degenerative state. That S.ism, T.ism, so on and so forth. So now let's look up this word. Revolt. The word revolt is sarah. Apostasy, defection, turn aside, withdraw. So they pretty much turn back from the right way. And that's why the Lord said through the mouth of the Apostle Paul that we are not of them that draw back. Because if any man draw back, the Lord's soul is not going to have pleasure in them. All right, so now let's move on. You can read the rest of this. Matter of fact, from the sole of the foot even to the head, there is no soundness in it. When a body is like that, that body is ready for the grave. There's no soundness in it. There's no part of the body that's operating properly because the whole body is diseased or is not at ease. That's how Jake is. But thanks be to Yahweh Bashem Al Shai that put that breath in us to bring us out of that sickly state, to bring us out of that low mentality, that degenerative low mentality that Jake has out here. And Esau has a big part to play in that too. The so-called black woman, Latino woman, Native American Indian woman, you so-called you Israelite men out there, you so-called leaders out there, you all play a part in this because you're all helping this devil keep pushing the envelope because you want to keep getting paid those FRNs, so you keep pushing bullshit out there when you know better than that. And that's where the Lord's going to get you too. It says, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores, they have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. So Jake that's out here, that bugged out state that they're in, that grimy state that they're in these corners, it hasn't been healed. There's no one that has been able to heal that. And this is why when we read the curses, it says, no man shall save you, no man shall buy you. You're not going to be able to be helped. The only ones that's going to really get the medicine, which is the truth, are the elect. But even with the medicine, we still need the physician to come back, Yahweh Shai, to deliver us. Man, you brothers could read the rest. Jeremiah 4:22, for my people is foolish, they have not known me. They are Sodom's children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. And that's why they're in that condition. That nasty, slimy, grimy state. You see it. You see them they are plotting. You see Jake out there plotting, looking, seeing who they could roll on. That's a fucking disease. And the Most High is going to bring the cure, which is those nuclear missiles and the lasers from the chariots. That shit has to be stomped out. All right, so let's go. Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge because they because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, because we are holiness. The Lord gave us his holiness. So there was no excuse. So since Jake turned it back, since we turned it back on the Lord turned his back on us. But now he has a remnant that's turning to him. Not because we were so righteous, but because the Most High made a promise to Abraham. And for his name's sake, that's why he's doing this. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. And man, if we haven't been forgotten, if we ain't the lost sheep of the house of Israel, I don't know who is. It says, that's pretty much it on that. Let's move on. Philippians 2 and 12. Wherefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Why? Because not every Israelite out there is going to be saved. Not every Israelite out there is going to have the same opportunity as a brother or sister that have been woken up to this truth. It says, for it is the Most High which worketh in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. See? This is a gift to come up out of that S.ism, that spick state, that grimy, slimy state that Jake is in out here, man. Do all things without murmuring and disputing, that you may be blameless and harmless, the sons of the Most High. See, the sons of the power, Yasha Allah. The Israel of the Most High, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world. And I know we looked up the word crooked, scolios, and perverse. We looked both of them up. Okay, diastrefos. Okay. So pretty much so that we may be able to shine as lights. Yahushua told the disciples, let your loins be girded with light and your light shining. Let your loins be girded with truth and your light shining. Because they see a different light when they see the brothers out there. You know? They see a difference and they get nervous. And this is why they're going to demonizing and eventually getting physical, because they want Jake they like Jake in the state that they're in. Docile to the so-called white men, Esau, the other nations, and aggressive toward their own people. No love. The only love they got is for Esau, mainly Esau. When it comes to each other, they about to kill and destroy each other. It's a goddamn shame, man. But that's the bottom line, man. That's where we're at with it. This is a part of the curses in the Bible. And this is why Esau doesn't want to deal with the curses of the Bible. They want to dismiss it. Well, no, that happened back in when you go to 787 BC, and the Assyrian Empire, and like in other words, that doesn't apply anymore. When the scripture itself in the book of Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter, said that these curses shall follow you and your seed. This is how we're going to know who the Israelites are, because the curses that are written in that book will follow Jake wherever they go on the planet. And there's no people as the people of Israel set up on the planet Earth right now that all nations are flowing to, looking at them like in awe and wanting to learn of the ways of the Most High. Them so-called people out there that call themselves Jews, them Khazars, them Amalekites, they're not the people of the Lord. They claiming that they're the people of the Lord, but the world wants to kill them because they're a bunch of scumbags. The shit that they're doing to people. So how can they be the people of the Lord? When people are looking to kill them, they're not looking to learn of their ways. The scriptures tell us in Isaiah the 2nd chapter, Micah the 4th chapter, that when the people of the Lord, the Israelites, are back in power, all nations are going to come and want to learn the ways of the Lord. And that there will be no more wars on the planet. It says, so pretty much that's it. And we may shine as lights in the world. Ezekiel 2 and 1. And he said unto me, Son of man, stand up upon thy feet, and I will speak unto thee. And the Spirit entered into me, when he spake unto me and set me upon my feet, that I heard him that spake unto me. And he said unto me, Son of man, I send thee to the children of Israel, to a rebellious nation that have rebelled against me. They and their fathers have transgressed against me, even unto this very day. So Jake is a very rebellious and stubborn people. They war against the Most High. And how do they do that? By coming against the prophets. The word for rebelled, marad, to rebel, revolt. And the word revolt means to turn back. You're given the right way to go, but then you turn back. The Lord said that he's not with them that turn back against the Most High. So it says, they and their fathers have transgressed against me, even unto this very day, for they are impudent children and stiff-hearted. They're stupid and they're stiff-hearted. They're hard-headed. I do send thee unto them, and thou shalt say unto them, Thus saith the Lord power. And they, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are a rebellious house, yet shall know that there hath been a prophet among them. Why? Because they're going to see eventually that the things that we've been speaking are going to come to pass. Because it's not us speaking. It's the power of Yahweh B'Shem Shai speaking to us. And thou, son of man, be not afraid of them, neither be afraid of their words. Because Jacob talk a good one. Though briars and thorns be with thee, which I believe we looked up those in another chapter. Let's see, briars and thorns. Now this is a little different. Briars, sarab, briar, rebel, a rebel, someone that rebels against the Most High, that wars against the Most High by warring against who? The prophets. And the other one is thorns. Salawan, briar, thorn, against something that pricks, you know. And they're also known as scorpions, which you're going to read. Scorpions. Now check out this word for scorpions. Iquarab, a scorpion. Scourge or knotted whip. Why? Because a scorpion does what? They strike you. No matter what, they strike you. So Jake, when you try to tell them the truth, they want to strike you. That's why the scriptures say, cast not your pearls before swine, neither give that which is holy unto the dogs. Least they turn around and rend you. Why? Because Jake are a bunch of scorpions, a bunch of vipers. They ain't going to listen to this. And this is why they killed the prophets. Because they went on the attack. Because the prophets were telling, look, you going off, you better turn around. I say, what, motherfucker, what? You saying what? I ain't gonna do you know? Because they looking at it like, who the hell is this guy? Not looking at the severity of it, the message that was being conveyed to them from the scriptures. They just looked at the individual, and that's what they're doing today. Salaki, brothers, one moment. All right, Salaki about that. All right, so now let's go back. Scorpion, right? So let's go back. Be not afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. And thou shalt speak my words unto them, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are most rebellious. But thou, son of man, be not thou So like, hear what I say unto thee, be not thou rebellious like that rebellious house, open thy mouth and eat that I give thee. See, so we have to eat the whole roll. Don't give a damn how emotional Jake get. You know, and this is what's going on with a lot of these Israelites now. They can't grasp that the scriptures give you different scenarios of different things in the world. It gives you different scenarios of rape. It gives you different scenarios of marriage. It gives you different scenarios of different things. And they can't get with it. So they go on a demonizing attack. Just like their daddy, Esau. This is the book of Isaiah 59:1. Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened that it cannot save, neither is his ear heavy that it cannot hear. But your iniquities have separated between you and your power, and your sins have hid his face from you that he will not hear. And this is why you find yourself in the place where you're at right now. A lot of you Israelites out there, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, in that grimy state, that S.ism and niggerism and Tontoism. Why? Because you rebelled against the Most High. It says, for your hands are defiled with blood, because you killed the prophets, and your fingers with iniquity. Your lips have spoken lies, your tongue hath muttered perverseness. Because all you do is go against what the Lord's saying. But then on the flip side of it, you'll say you believe in the Most High. You'll want to quote the Bible, this, that, and the other. But when the truth is brought out of the scriptures, you reject it. So guess what? The Lord said he's going to reject you, because does not Yahushua come in the volume of the book? So if you reject the book, he's going to reject you. None calleth for justice, nor any pleadeth for truth. Nobody wants the truth. Everybody talk about they believe in the Most High. Jake, believe in the Most High. They want, or just tell me the truth. No, you don't want to hear the truth, man. Because when the truth is presented to you, you push it away. You know? They trust in vanity and speak lies. They conceive mischief and bring forth iniquity. And that's what they do. And they could talk a good one. They hatch cockatrice eggs because they're nothing but serpents. And weave the spider's web. And what happens? They'll get other Israelites caught up into that. Like this guy Tazariak and others. They're weaving those webs. And other unsuspecting Israelites out there that are very light-minded, that are not studied, they're just followers, they get all caught up in his web and in different other guys' webs. Why? Because they haven't studied and because they're simple. It says, he that eateth of their eggs dieth, and that which is crushed breaketh forth into a viper. So let's go real quick to Matthew 23. Because these jakes out here, they're eating. And that's why the scriptures, the Apostle Paul said it. Be not children tossed to and fro. You're hopping from one camp to another, from one group of Israelites to another. And you're learning this from one, and you're learning that from another. And when it comes down to it, and you have to make a decision, you're all fucked up in the head because you watching a little of this, a little of that, and your foundation is not sure. So when something comes up, you're like in 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 different minds. Well, this group says this, but that group says this, and this group back there says over there, but the group over here says this. So you get confused. So because you're eating of these different venomous eggs, and you're caught up in those different webs. This is Matthew chapter 23 and 15. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, you make him twofold more the child of hell than yourself. Why? Because you're feeding them with that nonsense, that Western philosophy. Here it is, you're supposed to be a new creature, a new man, walking in the newness of life, but yet you're still incorporating Western philosophy into the scriptures. You can't let go of that Western philosophy. You can't let go of that Western mind. You can't break free from it. You haven't become that new man. And you got to let that shit go. So going back to Isaiah 59:6, their webs shall not become garments, because these webs that people are getting tangled up in, they're not going to become garments. This is why Yahweh Shai said, let's go to Revelation 16 and 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. See? Because the garments represent this truth, the oil. And if you're not the wise virgin, you're what? The foolish virgin. And that web that philosophy, that those garments that you weaved are not going to be able to cover you, because they're untempered mortar. They're not the real deal. And what did the Lord say? If you don't believe in him and do what he says, you're going to be like that man that built your house upon sand. And when the winds come and blow upon it, what happens? It's going to fall. So it says that their webs shall not become garments, neither shall they cover themselves with their works. Their works are works of iniquity, and the act of violence is in their hands. And that's why you see a lot of these jakes out here in that grimy state that they're in. And you even have Israelites that know that they're Israelites that are still in that grimy state. You can see the way they act, and they act just like Jake in the world, except for they're quoting scriptures. They ain't no different than a grimy ass individual in the world. But it's just a grimy individual in the world that can quote scriptures, because they never put off that old man. Their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity, wasting and destruction are in their parts. And you see Jake out here in the world, the way that they constantly plotting on each other. That's why Jake got this thing. When they move, what they do? They want to move in the night, so nobody can see what they got. Because you be moving in the daytime, and other motherfuckers be checking us. Oh, shit. They got all right. Yeah, I see. And eventually what happens? They break in your crib and take your shit. Bunch of degenerates, man. Bunch of grimy motherfuckers, man. And that's why the Most High said he's going to destroy 2/3 of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, man. And you deserve killing, man. It says, the way of peace they know not, and there is no judgment in their goings. They have made them crooked paths. Whosoever goeth therein shall not know peace. And you still have Israelites that know the truth, that know about the truth, that are claim themselves being in the truth, that fall under the same category. Therefore is judgment far from us, neither do justice overtake us. Doth justice overtake us. We wait for light, but behold obscurity. For brightness, but we walk in darkness. And you see Jake out there, they're in a dead, dark state. That's a straight up disease, man. From that holiness to that griminess. From holiness to griminess. God damn. We grope for the wall like the blind, and this is part of the curses. And we grope as if we had no eyes. We stumble at noonday as in the night. We are in desolate places as dead men. They're like those dry bones in the valley, man. It says, we roar all like bears and mourn sore like doves. We look for judgment, but there is none, for salvation, but it is far from us. And you would think that if you're in this condition, you would have compassion on your fellow brother and not subject him to that, to the same shit you going through. But no, what you do, you oppressed, but then you oppress others also among your own nation. That's a goddamn shame, man. For our transgressions are multiplied before thee, and our sins testify against us. For our transgressions are with us, and as for our iniquities, we know them. In transgressing and lying against the Lord, and departing away from our power, speaking oppression and revolt, conceiving and uttering from the heart words of falsehood. And that's why Jake is in that condition, man, because they don't have that healing ointment, which is this truth, to get them out of that condition. That's why they're in that diseased, degenerative state. And judgment is turned away backward, and justice standeth afar off. For truth is fallen in the street, and equity cannot enter. And if equity and truth can't enter, what happens? They can't be healed. They have to hear the word. The word has to permeate into their mind, into their ears, into their eyes. They have to accept it so that they can be converted and then can be healed. So that the medicine can work, so that the medicine can be effective. It says, yea, truth falleth, and he that departeth from evil maketh himself a prey. See? And then if you get away from evil, what the hell's wrong with this? You know? And what they come at you. So when you try to do the right thing, it's like they say that crabs in a barrel analogy. Says, and the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment. And that's where the Most High is going to bring forth the judgment and going to destroy 2/3 of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor. Therefore his arm brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness, it sustained him. So this is the condition we found ourselves in. The Most High saw that, and he sent Yahweh Shai 2,000 years ago. So Barakatah Yahweh for that, for sending Yahweh Shai. Otherwise, man, all of us would be in that state, of that permanent state of confusion, that permanent state of the dead mind state, the dead mind state of Jake out there. You know, for he put on righteousness as a breastplate, and an helmet of salvation upon his head, and he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing, and was clad with zeal as a cloak. According to their deeds, according he will repay fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will repay recompense. So shall they fear the name of the Lord. So that's going into something else, but this it all ties in. So Isaiah 59:19. Matter of fact, I'll go to 20. Thy sons have fainted; they lie in the head of all the streets, as a wild bull in a net. They are full of the fury of the Lord, the rebuke of their power. And this is why you see Jake in that S.ism, T.ism state. Therefore hear now this, thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine. Thus saith the Lord, thus saith thy Lord, the Lord, and thy power that pleadeth the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thine hand the cup of trembling. So the Lord has taken this cup out of our hand, to where we're not, we still got that nervousness because of how we were brought up, but not like it was before. We're not in that subservient nervousness, so to speak. Even the dregs of the cup of my fury, because this was the fury of the Lord. Remember, the Lord said that Esau is the Most High sword, and he used them to jack us up. Thou shalt no more drink it again. So we're freed from that mentally now. And we're coming to the time where we're going to be freed up physically. But there's going to be 2/3 of Jake out there that's still going to be in that grimy state. And that's why the Lord is going to smoke upon them. But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee. So Esau is about to get this. The nations are about to get this. They're about to feel what it is to be walked all over. They're going to know what it feels like to be grimy amongst each other. Which have said to thy soul, bow down, that they may go over, and thou hast laid thy body as a ground and as a street to them that went over. So the Lord is going to take those curses. The Lord is going to destroy 2/3 of Jake over here, period. Get rid of them. And every other thing of the elect, the Lord is going to take all of that wickedness away, and he's going to bring forth righteousness once again, the way it's supposed to be. So when I saw the brother's video, this is what came to mind. That's why I put S.ism, comma, T.ism, supposed to be a comma, N.ism, comma, is a disease. So all these things that you see Jake out there, the S.ism and the Tonto-ism and the Niggerism, that's all a disease from these curses. But the Lord has taken away that disease because he's given that mollifying ointment to the elect and building up the elect to make them the true judges of the earth, to set everything back aright. Because the scripture said that Savior shall come up upon Mount Zion, I believe it says in the book of Obadiah. Because the Lord is going to set up, it's going to be Yahweh Shai, and we're going to pretty much be the force, Lord's will we make it out of here to set things back up in order on the planet, to heal the earth once again from the disease that has been subjected to under the inhabitants thereof. So with that, I pray that you brothers have been edified. Until the next time I say Shalom. Evil. What the hell's wrong with this? And what they come at you. So when you try to do the right thing, it's like they say that crabs in a barrel analogy. Says, and the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment, and that's what